Hey everyone, how's it going? For today's video, let's take an up close and personal in-depth look at the first generation Toyota MR2. This particular one featured here is a 1988 Supercharged. And this is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the MR2. We'll start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip over the performance data, and show you many of the unique aspects of both the interior as well as exterior. And before we begin, I'd like to extend a big thanks and special shout out to Cosmo Motors located in Hickory, North Carolina for providing the MR2 featured in today's in-depth review. For more information on their dealership, including contact info and current inventory, both unique and exotic, feel free to check out their website located in the description box below. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up, let her run. This MR2 is finished in gloss black and is in fantastic condition for its age, paired with the standard black cloth interior and the upgraded performance interior package, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Full leather upholstery was also available. The MR2 Supercharged features Toyota's quick ratio steering setup, a non-power assisted rack and pinion design with an 18:1 ratio, 3.2 turns to lock, a collapsible steering shaft, and a 31.5-foot turning radius, routed through a sporty 3-spoke leather-wrapped steering wheel. 2 transmissions were available depending on your preference. The standard 5-speed manual is strengthened further with a larger 9-inch diameter clutch compared to the 8.5-inch clutch of the standard car, with revised short throw ratios, upgraded half shafts, built-in oil pump, and a leather-wrapped knob in this example. For added convenience, an optional 4-speed automatic transaxle was also available that featured electronic overdrive in 2 modes, not to mention a stronger design. The 2 modes included normal for fuel-efficient shifting and a power mode for quicker acceleration and improved passing power. To the right-hand side of the steering column, Toyota included a unique fuel selector switch to modify performance based on which grade of fuel you're using. Premium unleaded is required for maximum performance, in which case the switch should be on premium. If premium isn't used or available at the moment, selecting regular will dial down performance and accommodate for the lower octane rating. And so, we're going to flip on the pop-up halogen headlamps and the hazards. The driver's side window is automatic down. And we'll go ahead and check out the exterior. The first generation MK1 Toyota MR2 was launched in the North American market back in 1985 as an all-new sports car boasting sharp, lightweight design, rear-wheel drive, and an innovative mid-engine layout. The dramatic design and layout was somewhat of an anomaly from a relatively conservative brand known for its practical and family-oriented vehicles. Produced between 1985 and 1989, MR2 is actually an acronym that stands for Mid-Engine Runabout 2-Seater. The AW11, which was the internal chassis code for the first-gen cars, was the first mid-engine production vehicle from the Japanese automaker, opening the doors to a wealth of performance enthusiasts looking for a dynamic and affordable sports car with Toyota reliability. The body styling was as exotic as it got for the segment, a little less rounded and curved compared to a Pontiac Fiero, but sharp-tongued enough to rival the silhouette of some Ferraris of the era. The wedge shape and angles scream typical 1980s styling and definitely gives it a cool factor today, often referred to as origami-like styling. Even though it's a small car, it was designed with great ergonomics and passenger space, which we'll cover in just a bit. The mid-engine layout was nothing new in the automotive world, but the MR2 was easily attainable and one of the most successful offerings in its segment, before the Mazda Miata debuted in the late 80s. Over the following 3 decades, Mr. 2 would span 3 generations, with the most recent variant, the drop-top known as the MR2 Spider, being discontinued in 2005. It's become somewhat of a cult classic, with clean, unmodified examples such as this becoming increasingly hard to find, due to cheap prices, modifications, rust, and so much more. This is a true time capsule that launches you straight back into the middle of the decade of excess. The supercharged MR2 featured a number of exterior upgrades that set it apart from the standard car, including the aerodynamic package, which featured color-keyed rear spoiler, lower side skirts, rear MR2 mudguards, and rear sunshade with the Toyota logo that extended between the flying buttresses. In addition, the side view mirrors are color-keyed, while the engine cover outback gets an aggressive louver treatment, with the driver's side portion featuring an air intake for the intercooler, to help decrease charge air temperature before combustion. On the deck lid and body sides just ahead of the rear wheels, there are subtle supercharged decals. Other than unique wheels, everything else is familiar MR2 styling. In transformation from a mild-mannered sports car to pocket rocket, this MR2 features Toyota's own in-house built Roots-type supercharger with air-to-air intercooler affixed to the standard 4A GE twin-cam 1.6-liter 16-valve 4-cylinder engine. The fuel-injected supercharged 4AGZE engine largely remained the same compared to the naturally aspirated variant, including the Yamaha-designed aluminum cylinder head, but does have a few key upgrades that work to further strengthen it, including a reinforced iron block, forged pistons, and even revised head gasket made of a carbon material with steel wires around the cylinder bores for a tighter seal to combat the increased internal pressures. Other changes include the deletion of the TVIS intake manifold from the standard car and a compression ratio drop from 9.4 to 1 to 8 to 1. The drop in compression is largely due to the depressions in the piston crowns. The forged piston design compared to the standard cast aluminum pistons also allow them to be lighter, stronger, and have a higher heat tolerance for longer durability. Power jumps from 115 horsepower at 6,600 RPM to 145 horsepower at 6,400 RPM. With torque also increasing from 100 pound-feet at 4,800 RPM to 140 pound-feet at 4,000 RPM. This translates to improved 0 to 60 times around 6.5 seconds, which is around 2 seconds quicker than the naturally aspirated variant, and quarter-mile times around the 15-second mark at 90 miles an hour. The engine's red line peaks at 7,500 RPM with top speed around 130 miles an hour. Not only that, power is developed even sooner for snappier acceleration and boost pressure around 8 psi. Maximum boost pressure is 10.7 psi. The supercharger weighs just 23.8 pounds and is largely made of aluminum, and operates at 1.25 times the engine's speed. The benefits of supercharging over turbocharging largely boils down to the fact that the supercharger is belt-driven off a crankshaft, which allows instant power gains over a broader RPM range compared to a turbo that works off the exhaust gases. The main downside to a supercharger is the possibility for power loss due to the extra mechanical inertia, and more of a fuel economy penalty compared to a turbo. Therefore, the MR2's application is fitted with an electromagnetic clutch that automatically disengages the blower drive system during cruising or lifting off the throttle, instances where there isn't any load applied to the supercharger. When boost is being delivered, a green LED indicator on the instrument cluster illuminates. This also works in helping maintain and limit loss in fuel economy. Augmenting the electromagnetic clutch is a system that can route air either of 2 ways, directly to the engine or back through the supercharger depending on engine load by an air bypass valve, which not only works to prevent potential overboosting with pressure buildup, but allows the air to be diverted when the supercharger isn't in use or passively fed through when under light loads. When boost is developed, the supercharger then works to pull the air in as the internal rotors spin. Other new technologies included dual aperture fuel injectors, computerized engine control, revised valve timing with a new camshaft, high-speed knock sensor for optimizing ignition timing, and revised tracks for both the intake and exhaust valves. As far as fuel economy, the MR2 carried a 10.8-gallon fuel tank. With the supercharger, you had the option of using premium fuel for best performance, or flip the dash switch like I showed you earlier to modify engine performance for use of regular fuel. As far as fuel economy, the MR2 carries a 10.8-gallon tank. With the Supercharger, you had the option of using premium fuel for best performance, or flip the little dash-mounted switch to modify the engine performance for use of regular fuel. Estimated mileage ratings range between 24 miles to a gallon in the city and 30 on the highway for the manual gearbox, with the automatic bringing in a bit less at 22 miles to a gallon in the city and 27 on the highway. The supercharged MR2 features an upgraded set of 14 by 6 inch aluminum alloy wheels, wider than the heavier steel wheels by half an inch. They were originally wrapped in 185/60 Bridgestone Potenza tires that were tested to hold around 0.9 G of lateral acceleration. The brakes from the naturally aspirated car carry over 10.2 inch ventilated front rotors and 10.4 inch solid discs in the rear. Only thanks to a dual vacuum power booster, there's reduced brake pedal effort over the standard single-fed unit. With this setup, the MR2 Supercharged has been tested to stop from 60 miles an hour in around 146 feet. The MR2 features a fully independent suspension consisting of McPherson struts in front with a single lower control arm and spherical joint-type stabilizer bar. In the rear, the lightweight Chapman strut design is located by twin lateral links and trailing arm. A rear 11mm stabilizer bar was added for 1989, providing a bit of extra control out back. For the Supercharged, Toyota increased the front spring rates by 11%, with a 3% increase in front stabilizer bar diameter. This was an important update, being the Supercharged MR2 weighed just a little over 100 pounds more, distributing just a little bit more weight towards the back. Each wheel featured offset coil springs and gas shocks. In reviews, the suspension changes, which work to increase the ride compliance and decrease understeer tendencies, received mixed results. Whether they were beneficial or not, it really depends on who you ask. Overall length is 155.5 inches, with a width of 65.6 inches and a height of 48.6 inches, riding on a 91.3 inch wheelbase. Total curb weight, as you see here for the manual transmission, is around 2,493 pounds, and slightly more for the auto. As you would expect from a Toyota product, the MR2's interior was designed with impressive ergonomics and passenger space despite its small size. Even after 30 years, the build quality feels top-notch with soft touch points, high-quality cloth interior trim, and a variety of option packages. The MR2 Supercharged came standard with a few optional extras from the base MR2, including the T-bar roof with removable glass panels and an optional performance interior package, which includes automatic headlamps, 7-way adjustable sport bucket seats with side bolstering adjustment, lumbar and adjustable headrest. You also receive leather wrapping for the steering wheel and shift knob, in addition to extra storage within the center console and deep-cut pile carpeting. While the soft cloth feels high quality and grippy to the touch, full leather upholstery is also available as an option. The seats provide a level of comfort and support that likely rivaled cars double and triple its price point, with excellent lateral support and padding. Air conditioning, power windows, and the like were optional with the power package, as was your choice of a standard 3-speaker audio system or the upgraded 5-speaker setup seen here. A tilt steering wheel came as standard. This car, with just over 40,000 miles, has been excellently preserved. Down in the carpeting, you have a bit of all-weather protection with excellent pedal placement, and plenty of ventilation for the driver with a pair of extra air vents underneath the steering column. The oh-so-80s angular interior styling provides an excellent view to the gauges and easy access to all of the switchgear and levers.
So let's go ahead and see how she sounds.
Now I'm going to show you how to remove and store the T-tops. Behind the seats, there's a section of carpeting against the back firewall with a little strap that'll hold the tops in place once you put them in their dust jackets, which snugly hold each glass panel, preventing them from getting damaged. To release the glass portion, there's a locking mechanism and a handle inside that must be pressed simultaneously to release it, then simply pick it up at the edge and pull it out away from the vehicle. This of course goes the same for the other side. Like before, if everything is nice and stowed away, if you're ready to put the glass roofs in place, you just have to work backwards. It's very simple. Once done, it'll look like this from the inside. You can also lock the T-top mechanism to prevent anybody else without a key from actually removing the T-tops. For extra sun protection, if you didn't want the glass exposed all the time, there's two removable sunshades that you can affix up and lock in place. They fit in a certain way and mold with the roof.
We'll go ahead and shut her up. This MR2 features a basic AM/FM radio with in-dash cassette deck, pretty typical of what you would find in the 80s. It's a very simple design, with your volume and power knob to the far left, equalizer, balance and fade, different preset stations, rewind, fast forward, scan, and change in different radio modes. Padded visors, and a manually dimming rearview mirror. You do have some extra speakers in the back, including your interior illumination, and a grip handle over on the passenger side. Even though the design is pretty typical 80s, very angular and squared off, it still looks pretty cool today in my opinion. Digital clock up top, center air vent, padded storage tray, and your simple climate control system. Fan speed, cold, hot, different zones, front defrost, and recycling. Your rear defrost is located on the left-hand side controller stack. Continuing across the center console, you do have a small storage tray up top there, lighter, ashtray, and a slender center console. You do have some extra storage in the back, including a little cubby up top. To the right-hand side of the instrument cluster, you have your intermittent wipers, the little toggle switch. And on the right-hand side, like you saw earlier, are your lighting controls and interior lighting dimmer, not to mention your rear defrost. Turn signals are activated by the stalk there. As far as the instrument cluster, it's very simple, custom tailored for the Supercharged model. You have your fuel voltometer to the far left, and off to the right you have your oil pressure and vehicle temperature, warning lights in the very bottom there, and a small green indicator light to let you know when the supercharger is providing boost. Air vents down below to provide plenty of ventilation. Alrighty. We'll go ahead and shut her down. There's a little locking button on the back there that you have to press to be able to pull it out of the ignition cylinder. And we'll go ahead and check out the rest of the vehicle. Open the trunk in the rear by pulling up on this larger lever.
In back, the MR2 does have a modest amount of cargo space. It's around 8 cubic feet in all. Even though it is wide, it's a slender opening, so you can stow a few items or perhaps a single golf bag.
So, let's go ahead and pop the storage area up front.
The cargo space up front is a little bit more modest. It's not necessarily a trunk compartment, but a space for your spare tire, your fluid reservoirs, and you have your strut tower brace spanning across. It does have a little bit of enough space to stow a few grocery bags or something of the like, but for traveling, the rear trunk area is definitely a lot more practical.
The passenger seat also features manual adjustment like the driver's seat, but it lacks the extra thigh support and the manual lumbar. We're going to shut her up. The glove box is opened by this button right here, and there's a little lock so you can lock it for privacy. And it's also modest, lined in felt, with just enough space for a few books. Keeping everything secure is an elastic strap. You also have an air vent on the passenger side like you do on the driver's down below.
With these first-gen cars becoming rarer and rarer to find in this kind of condition, they're sure to be part of the next wave of collectors for a new generation. With a well-balanced chassis, low weight, and good power for its time, Mr. 2 will forever be remembered as one of Toyota's most memorable exercises in pure driving enjoyment. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look at this mint condition 1988 Toyota MR2 Supercharged. Be sure to stay tuned next time, there's a lot more where that came from. Take care everybody.